And small business owner, what can we do for you?
What we can all do for all veteran business owners is promote each other.
My main mission was to look at tools of technology to leverage small business and give them more of a competitive advantage.
My mission for Veteran Bargains is very simple: to help vets.
That story in itself, to run for Vista City Council, is a journey.
I think this is an opportunity to really collaborate with those gone before us.
It's really kind of a labor of love.
And now your host.
Welcome to this new episode of the Veterans Chamber Radio Show. I'm your host, Shelly Harrison. I'm also the co-director of the Inland Empire Orange County chapter of the Veterans Chamber of Commerce. I want to give a big shout out to our team behind the scenes. We have our executive director of the Veterans Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Joseph Molina. We have Michael Wood, who is also one of our producers. And we have Jimmy back there. And we also have my co-director, Laura Torres, and co-host. She's not the co-director, co-host of the show. And also Dolly Rivera, who does all of our social media. And today, I just wanted to point out that we have a guest that I've known for a long time. So we're going to get into that for just a minute. The Veterans Chamber Radio show features military veterans, spouses, and community leaders making an impact in business, nonprofits, the government, and for our veteran community. I would like to welcome Tyrone French, who is my guest today. And Tyrone French, he is a wealth coach, author, business owner, investor, philanthropist, podcast host, virtual speaker, and a former U.S. Navy veteran. His business is Closing the Wealth Gap. So welcome to the radio show. How are you doing, Tyrone?
Shelly, I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor and privilege for me to be here.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do for our veterans, including the service that you gave for many years, being in the military. And
well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And, I'd love to get started just by congratulating you, because I know that you were just recently where your insurance company was actually selected as one of the best insurance companies of the top 11 in the city of Long Beach. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. That was an honor again.
I bet.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Long Beach is a pretty big city too, with a lot of insurance agencies. So kudos to you and your team.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Yeah. Tyrone, tell us a little bit about yourself and, the work that you do. We'll start there.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying that, Shelly, I love what I do. It gets me up in the morning. When I go to bed at night, I'm thinking about what I'm doing and how I can be of service to my community. And it stems from the military. I mean, as far as me joining the Navy, sometimes I'd be, in uniform. I worked on aircraft. I was a avionics technician. Mm-hmm. And I was stationed on an island in the Pacific called Guam.
Oh, yes.
And the weather was nice. The breeze would be coming in, and I would like be just pinching myself, like, wow, they're actually paying me to. Just wanting to serve and being in that element of providing a service.
Yeah. I'm going to bring us back to when you and I first met. I was highly impressed because we met at Marie Callender's.
Yes, I remember.
And I just remember vividly where, you were very professional and you took out your fork, your knife, and your spoon, and you were polishing them. And I was just thinking, my goodness, I knew that you were in the military, but it was just really, kind of interesting to see you do that.
Well, people in the military they'll understand this phrase, attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something that I just apply in everything that I do, as far as even my personal life, but especially my business life, paying attention to detail.
Yeah. And that's really important, especially in the work that you do, with just working with numbers, working with people's, hard-earned money. As far as, when you started your business, I know that you've been doing this for many years, but bring us back to when you first started your business and how is it different from when you first started to 2021?
Well, actually, I was working for McDonnell Douglas. I was a quality assurance administrator right out of the military.
Mhm.
And it was just something that I just felt like there was more to it than just, picking up a paycheck. I mean, I was making really good money. Again, I was trained avionics, but it just seemed like something was missing. So I ended up making a long story short, I ended up working for New York Life Insurance Company on
Mhm.
Wilshire Boulevard in LA.
Oh,
And I was there for 3 years. And it got to the point where I was working with very high-end clients. And the issue for them was not how much money they were going to spend. It was based on how much wealth they were protecting as far as their assets.
mhm.
And it was for me, it was a large segment that was just falling through the cracks as far as it's a difference between working with 5% of the population versus with the other 95%. And the 5% of the population, they're doing things that the other 95% are just not doing.
Mm.
And again, I was at a crossroads of whereas, I was making really good money. I, it's like, are you doing this for the money? And so that service aspect kind of kicked in again. And I
Yeah.
kind of pivoted. And again, I just dedicated my life to working with that 95% of the population that either don't have the information or the information that they've been misinformed with the information that they've received.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you also wrote a book, and I know that gosh, at least 5 years ago, right? When it first came
Yes,
out. Tell
yes.
us a little bit about your book, because I know that's something that people, probably should be starting with when they, talk about getting into investments.
Well, the title of the book is Closing the Wealth Gap.
Mhm.
And matter of fact, it just came out in hard copy. The revised
Oh,
version just came out in hard copy yesterday. But
wow.
closing the wealth gap, it's a concept as far as the rich are getting richer and the poor and the middle class are becoming poor. And it
Mm.
used to be a time when you were in the middle class, there was a certain lifestyle that was afforded to you. But now
Mhm.
the middle class is slipping into the working poor category, meaning that there's not enough hours in a day. At the end of the month, there's not enough money left. And so people are, trying to figure out, how do I generate more income by taking on a second job and a third job? And because of the cause and effect relationship, a lot of times if they have family members, husband and wife, they're spending more time apart. They're definitely not spending more time with the kids. And then now, just based on the standard of living, people are working longer. So instead of spending time with their grandkids, they're on the job working, trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And I wrote the book saying that it doesn't have to be that way, with certain principles and certain formulas. And I liken it to like baking a cake. If you
Mhm.
have the right recipe and the right ingredients and you have the right experience, you're going to produce the same cake, same quality cake as grandma made or your mother made. But it starts with having the recipe and the right ingredients.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. And having been in the financial industry myself,
Yes.
I mean, I saw a lot of course, it was different, when I was in the financial industry. And I started back in the early 80s. So things have changed quite a bit, because back then the interest rates for homes were in the 15 and 16%.
Exactly.
So I mean, today, the real estate and things that are accessible to investors, it's amazing. And I think too, with what you share with people and how you do the job that you do, you really offer a lot of different tools and resources for them. And I remember your app, and I haven't gone on to it lately. Tell us about the app that you had, because I know when people, when they meet you and they learn about you, you have an app that they can kind of tie into and get to know you, and also get to know the different educational things that are important.
Well, absolutely. The app came about where, let's say if you're at a networking function and people
Mhm.
will ask for your business card. So you pass out a business card. Nine times out of 10, they'd either toss their business card or put it in some type of Rolodex or something.
Yeah.
Well,
The olden days, right?
yeah, well, I have this app
Yeah.
and it's TyroneFrenchApp.com, and it's
Mhm.
pretty much my entire business um, in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
So it has a way to contact me, a way to schedule appointments, but it also has content based on videos and articles. So let's say if you come across some information and you say, wow, that's pretty interesting. Let's check Tyrone's app and see if he's addressing that. When like lo and behold, there's a app for life insurance or annuities or starting a business or taxation. And so you click a button on that app and all of a sudden you get this video, but also you get a corresponding article. So once I get that phone call, as far as, or the text message or the email, they pretty much know exactly what they want to talk about, why they want to talk about it, and how to get started.
Yeah. Yeah. No, congratulations on that, because I think that's such a great tool as a business owner where people have all the information right at their fingertips. And nowadays, we kind of expect that, with just the way things are going now. What has the silver lining been for you with COVID, and just kind of reflecting back on 2020 and, fast forward to today, what is a silver lining for you?
Well, it's kind of, it's a love-hate thing. COVID is a terrible, terrible disease. And with me being in the insurance business, I see the reports as far as the deaths based on COVID-19 and how it's devastating families and communities. But the silver lining is that it made a lot of people think about themselves as far as financially and getting their affairs in order.
Yes.
And also making sure that they have, not only do they have adequate life insurance, but they have adequate coverage. They're also making sure that they have their wills in place, which again, 65% of the American population don't even have a will. Shelley, let alone having a trust. And me, being here in California, if you have real estate, you should own a trust. You should own a trust.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I think people, they probably don't have the resources to, really invest in a trust, but I think at minimum they should have a will, but even looking into, affordable trust that can be created just with, with the if people have just, the home and maybe some vehicles and they have kids, it's important to have those things in place that can protect their family. And if they pass on.
Well, the difference is how much will it cost not to have a trust? Not how much does it cost to purchase one, but how much will it cost not to have one? And let's say if the typical estate, and I'm just going to throw a number out there, let's say if it's $100,000. And I'm just being hypothetical, but again, just assume that the estate was $100,000 and the typical probate cost was 8%. Well, that's $8,000.
Yeah.
Now take that $100,000 being in California and multiply that times 5, 6, 700,000. Then when you begin to look at those numbers, they add up. So the issue is, how much money is it costing you not to do certain things?
Yeah, that's such a good point and reminder.
Yeah, because people tend to do the things that they really want to do. And I tell people all the time, I'm not trying to change anybody's spending habits. I want people to continue to have that habit of spending. What we want to do is change. We want to change the vehicle that people are spending their money towards.
Well, and I think it's a mindset, don't you?
It is. It's a mindset.
They grew up, and scarcity of money.
It is, and it's a conditioning. But it does. You could have been programmed or conditioned a certain way, but that doesn't mean that you have to continue on that path.
Yeah.
People tend to gather around, or a bird of a feather flock together. They tend to stay around that same norm because it's comfortable, versus looking outside of their network. If you're around people that's constantly, that their whole livelihood is working for money or trading time for money, then that becomes a natural mindset for you, until you find yourself in a group of people that have income producing assets where their money is literally working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's again, but that's a paradigm shift, because for some people, it's not the norm as far as having your assets produce income that you can live off of.
No, great points. And we're going to do a quick recap here. We have Tyrone French here with us, and he's got a lot of things that he does in the wealth management field, and he's also a coach. So if you have comments or questions, feel free to just go ahead and comment and let us know that you're here and that you're just kind of feeling what we're talking about, because it's important. And I know we just kind of recapped on, how important it is to have a trust and also having a will, and especially now during COVID times,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to bring it back to you, Tyrone. And as far as, the work that you do, what inspires you to do the work?
Growth.
Growth.
Seeing the growth of an individual, taking somebody that has a negative net worth. And again, it's like pulling teeth to get people just to look at their income statement or their balance sheet. And they'll automatically assume, well, my finances are terrible. It's like somebody hiring a maid to clean their house, but they clean up the house first before the maid gets there.
Guilty.
So again, what you want to do is seeing that growth as far as a person. I liken it to going to the mall. You go to the mall, and you're going to see this directory, and the directory is going to say you are here. That's crucial and important in finance. You need to know where you are.
Yes.
And then you set a goal based on where you want to go. So even that directory in the mall is going to tell you this is where you are. And then it's going to give you a path as far as follow this path to get to where you want to go. That's financial planning in a nutshell. And I do want to add, Shelley, that I'm the tip of the spear, but I have an entire team working with me. So I have somebody that specializes in real estate or taxation or living trust. I have an entire team that we do an evaluation that's doing putting the best plan in place for that particular client.
So that's highly comprehensive, especially when it's kind of like a one-stop shop where you can get everything taken care of all in one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, going back to your initial question, when I first started, people specialize in one area. They either did life insurance or they did mutual funds, or but you kind of want to look at the totality of the individual. And again, because you probably invested a lot of money just trying to get that client and to develop that client. Well, now that you have that client, you have a relationship with that client. Now you add other products and services. They trust you. You have this trust relationship to whereas not only do you have a fiduciary responsibility for them, but they know that you're working for their best interest. And then once they begin to see how everything begins to work together, now you're not just giving people a fish, you're teaching them how to fish. And now they're managing their assets to whereas they understand what's happening in the process.
Yes. And when it's someone's livelihood and they know that you've helped them make a difference, I bet it's the greatest feeling just to know that you can provide that kind of service, to people that truly need the services that you provide.
Yes. And for me, it's the referrals. The referral is the best thank you that I can get, because again, they're saying, hey, this is somebody that I know, I've been working with them for years. I trust them, and you could trust them too. And that's the best feeling in the world.
It truly can be. Absolutely. And how can people find you, Tyrone?
Well, they can go to my website, www.tyronefrench.coach, or they can go to closingthewealthgap.coach. And if they want to call Tyrone, they just call 562-498-4316.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. And let's see, we have a question coming in. We have a couple of them. Should I focus on paying down credit cards or put in more in my retirement fund? This comes from James on LinkedIn.
Well, again, not knowing your full situation, I can tell you this just based on a hypothetical. And I have other clients. Let's say, your return on your retirement is like 10%. well, let's exaggerate a little bit, and let's say you're getting a 15% return on your retirement. But let's say your credit card debt is about maybe 50,000. I'm being hypothetical because I don't know this person. But again, let's say if your average credit card is, 25, 35%, and imagine you have 3 or 4 credit cards. Well, you're trying to start a retirement plan that you're getting a 10% return, where your debt is literally taking about 50% of your income per month.
Yeah.
So I would concentrate on getting rid of that debt more, because again, the fallacy is that you have to have an X amount of money just to retire, when that's not true. What you need in retirement is income. You don't need you don't need millions and millions of dollars. What you need is an income producing asset. So let's say you decide to build an asset that's producing maybe $6,000 a month. Have $3 million in an account, but you have an income producing asset that's generating $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. And you're getting it every single month. Well, guess what? You can do that in your 20s or 30s or 40s. You're retired.
Good point. And we thank you, James, for asking that question from LinkedIn.
Yes,
and then we have
James.
another question from Amy on Facebook, and she asked, what is the easiest way to set up a trust? That's a great question, Amy, by the way.
It is a great question. And I recommend using an attorney. And the reason being is because, let's say if you show up in court and you're trying to represent yourself, well, that's not really a good thing. And so when you're looking at a trust, what you're doing is you're representing the beneficiaries of that trust. And so you want it, because when that trust kicks in, or your will kicks in, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be here. So you want to make sure that it's done right. So you want to make sure that it's done correctly. So I say, go to the experts, make sure that you talk with an attorney. And people think that talking to an attorney is very expensive, but there are actually legal service plans and memberships that you can literally buy into for like $20, $25 a month that will give you access to a full law firm, to whereas you talk with a estate planning attorney about your particular situation. And then when it comes to putting the trust into place, and there's also other services out there or online services, because now that you have the information, you understand that the trust is pretty much just like a shoebox. And while you're alive, you're just you're transferring ownership from yourself to the shoebox. So when you're no longer here, the shoebox is presented to your beneficiary on your behalf.
Great information. Great question too, Amy. Thank you for asking on Facebook.
Thank you, Amy.
And final thoughts, Tyrone, we're actually coming to the end of the broadcast here. And I'd love to find out just final thoughts for you in 2021 and what people should really be focused on.
People need to focus on establishing multiple streams of income. And that's, Shelley, let me tell you why. If you have one source of income and you lose that one source of income, you pretty much lose everything. A lot of people, they don't get a mortgage until they actually have that, they nail down that one source of income. And they think that one source of income is going to be is secure for them. And so they get the mortgage, they get the house, they take on the credit card, meaning that they have that lifestyle. But once they lose that one source of income, or let's say a husband and wife, 2 sources of income, you lose that one. Now you're down to one source of income. Now guess what? You tend to lose them. You can't pay the mortgage, so you lose the house.
It's a ripple effect.
It's a domino effect. So then you lose the house, you lose the cars, you mess up your credit, and all of a sudden now you're trying to get back on your feet. And it could have taken you, that scenario that we're talking about as far as losing your income, you can lose your income in a day, in a matter of seconds, but your expenses will go on for years. For years.
Sure.
So if 2021, my advice would be to make sure you have multiple streams of income, because again, your credit is tied to so many things right now, even trying to get a job. So again, you lost that income, you lost your credit. Your credit is you're in the 500s. You go to try to get another job, they're going to pull your credit report. Yep. And a lot of times that will disqualify you from getting that high paying job that you had before. So again, but if you have multiple streams of income, when you lose one source of income, guess what? You ratchet up that other stream, or number 4 or number 5, to whereas you're not missing a beat.
Yeah. Great information, Tyrone. Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to actually bring our executive director, Joseph Molina, into the broadcast. So Joe will be popping in here shortly, and he'll kind of.
Hi, Joe.
How you doing, Tyrone?
I'm well. Thank you.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Shelley. And we just want to thank you, Tyrone, for sharing your wealth of information when it comes to making wealth. And one of the things that I love all your points, and especially the last one you made about the multiple sources of income. Mm-hmm. And I totally second that approach, because you're right. Income may go away and we see that happen now with COVID.
Yes.
But the expenses continue. They keep coming and coming and coming. So having multiple sources of income is important. And we love helping people start businesses and create things like that. So, just wanted to thank you for your approach and for being on the show.
Thank you.
And then really appreciate your sharing that information with us.
Thank you, Joe. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. We appreciate you being there to support us too. And at this time, I would love to say, Tyrone, thank you so much for being here today, and for sharing your wealth of information. And I'm going to echo Joe. It's been great having you on the show, and it really makes me think too. And I think I'm going to, right after this, I think I'm going to go make some changes. But we appreciate you being here. And for our audience, thank you for watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's just wonderful to see the growth of this radio show.
Yes.
And if you would like to catch our shows, we're every Friday, and you'll catch us here on these same platforms. And I want to wish everybody a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for being here. Thanks again, Tyrone.
Good job, Shelley. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Tyrone.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.